Right now, your survival and daily comfort depend on something invisible, incredibly fragile, and that you take for granted. A grid of electrical wires and copper cables crossing miles of distance. If the power goes out today, your house, designed with this best modern architecture and cutting-edge materials, turns into a glass and concrete oven in a matter of hours. Over the last few decades, we've been taught that a high-tech climate control system is the absolute pinnacle of human intelligence. You look at the modern radiator in the corner of your living room or the silent ventilation ducts in your ceiling and genuinely believe humanity has achieved total control over the forces of nature. But the truth is, we have become completely hostage to a simple wall outlet. We have lost the instinctive and engineering ability to create systems that run on their own. We live under the constant illusion that technological complexity has made us independent and invincible, when, in reality, we have never been so fragile and vulnerable to a simple power cut. We assume, with our modern arrogance, that surviving in scorching deserts before the Industrial Revolution simply involved seeking out the thin shade of a tent, drinking warm water, and accepting the constant suffering of high temperatures. After all, how do you efficiently cool a room when the sun is punishing the earth and the wind outside is blowing at a cruel 113 degrees Fahrenheit? We blindly believe that modern technology, loud compressors, burning fossil fuels, and synthetic refrigerant gases were the great saviors that pulled us out of that hell. But the historical truth is much more brutal and fascinating. Ancient Persian engineers built entire cities in the heart of the desert, like the ancient city of Yazd, that were significantly colder and more comfortable than your current luxury apartment. They weren't just struggling to survive day by day, they mastered the climate with surgical precision. More than that, they manufactured, stored, and consumed massive blocks of solid ice in the middle of the unforgiving Middle Eastern summer. They did this using giant dome-shaped structures called Yakhchāl, where ice lasted for months using absolutely no circuit boards, no combustion engines, and exactly 0 watts of electricity. Their deep engineering secret wasn't trying to fight the desert using the brute force of machines, but rather understanding and manipulating thermodynamics with a mathematical precision that modern commercial engineering prefers to simply ignore. They used architectural marvels known as Bâdgir, popularly called wind catchers. While today's civil architecture desperately tries to seal windows, insulate walls with toxic foams, and spend absurd amounts of electrical energy to keep the heat out at all costs, ancestral genius did the exact opposite. They invited the desert climate into their homes. They built monumental vertical towers made entirely of sun-baked mud bricks positioned on top of their residences. These towers had geometric openings precisely angled to capture favorable, high-altitude breezes long before those winds descended and touched the boiling dust of the city streets. However, merely capturing hot wind doesn't magically cool a house. The true mechanical revolution lay in the hidden system operating silently underground. They channeled this harsh, hot air down the hollow interior of the tower, pulling it straight deep underground, forcing the wind to pass over an ancient, incredibly cold, hand-dug flowing water canal stretching for miles, called a Qanat. But throwing a massive amount of hot air into a narrow underground water canal instantly created a complex mechanical problem that needed solving. How do you get this air, which was now damp and deep underground, back to the surface to actively cool the house without using our traditional high-powered mechanical fans? And it was exactly to solve this bottleneck that they exploited the immutable laws of evaporative cooling and atmospheric pressure. When the hot, dry desert air collided with the underground water flowing straight from mountain snowmelt, the water absorbed the wind's thermal energy to evaporate. The air immediately lost heat and became much denser and heavier. But the real magic happened on the other side of the residence. The side of the wind tower facing away from the prevailing breeze created a permanent low-pressure zone. This simple mathematical difference in atmospheric pressure created a continuous, natural, and incredibly perfect vacuum. The ice-cold, fresh air trapped underground was then forcefully sucked upwards, sweeping through every room of the house with a gentle breeze, while simultaneously pushing the hot, stale air out through ceiling vents. And they went much further, even anticipating the days when the wind simply stopped blowing. After all, how do you keep a house cold on a desert day when the air is completely stagnant? Without having a motor to force circulation. The wind tower itself was designed to double as a solar chimney. The unforgiving sun would heat the thick, dark walls on one side of the tower. As physics dictates, hot air naturally rises. As this air along the tower walls climbed toward the sky, it left a void in the house below. This continuous exhaust movement kept pulling cold air from the underground in an uninterrupted flow. It was a monumental climate control machine, operating day and night, entirely self-sustaining, powered entirely by the relentless physics of the very desert forces they were trying to avoid. An invisible, silent, and perfect choreography of air, water, gravity, and pressure. Today, our modern metropolises and smart homes look like impenetrable fortresses, flaunting technology on every wall. But it only takes one small component to burn out: a melted fuse, a damaged motherboard, or a miscalibrated thermostat. And your entire system goes into total meltdown, leaving you sweating in the dark, at the mercy of the aggressive climate we swore we had mastered. The radiator goes cold, the air ducts go silent, and we find ourselves powerless. The master builders of antiquity didn't have the luxury of creating flawed systems. They couldn't just call a technician or sign a preventative maintenance contract. They built crucial survival tools designed to last centuries and span entire generations. Structures designed in harmony with the earth, not against it. We, in the modern world, try to isolate our environment and fight the fury of nature using billions of dollars in heavy infrastructure and an endless burning of non-renewable resources. They used nature's own force as their infinite, unbreakable engine. We have undoubtedly created much faster, more comfortable, and more convenient machines, it is true. But in the midst of all our technological evolution and modern pride, we have completely forgotten the deepest lesson of true human engineering: how to create something perfectly symbiotic with the world and absolutely impossible to break.